Today, we are going to be discussing company offsites. Also, we were just having a really interesting discussion about the government shutdown. So it's actually a topic we wanted to talk about a few weeks ago. OpenAI and Turner have announced this mega deal, which has been all over my LinkedIn feed. And then we'll have DeVan and Ollie, as they last week, I think it was, or the week before, announced their acquisitions.
The contention is over ACH subsidies, where we have some benefits that are set to expire that were expired by the Trump big beautiful bill, and Democrats are pushing back and saying they want those extended. It's actually such a small issue, and we were talking before this, it's kind of like, hey, we got a kitchen fire in an apartment complex, so instead of let's blow up the building to put out the kitchen in one apartment fire, and we're just blowing up everything for such a minute issue. It's just so frustrating. I mean, people I think can guess kind of where I am politically, but I would be in favor of whatever side just gives up because we need the government unlocked. I mean, Patrick, you told me about our military in Germany. That's a sad situation.
Yeah, they were advised by the administration, hey, please get your food now in the local soup kitchen.
The problem is, and this is my opinion, is those seed rounds, you're not worth that much money when you raise at 30 million or 50 million or sometimes 100 million. You're not truly worth that. If people were more willing to be truthful in their self-assessment, then I think a lot more deals could get done.
Welcome back, guys. Bytes and Bytes. Today we are going to be discussing company offsites. We would explain why Dustin was not with us last week. What the hell are they? And I think here, based on what you sent us, Dustin, team dinners, department presentations, working sessions, and an escape room with 41 attendees. Excited to hear about this. Also, we were just having a really interesting discussion about the government shutdown. So in the US, it's actually a topic we wanted to talk about a few weeks ago. So we will jump into that one. OpenAI and Turner have announced this mega deal, which has been all over my LinkedIn feed. So looking forward to hearing about what the hell is going on there. And then we'll have DeVan and Ollie, DeVan from OpenSpace, Ollie from Disperse, as they last week, I think it was, or the week before, announced their acquisition. So OpenSpace acquired Disperse. So we'll dive into that. And before we go there, I need to ask your guys' opinion on something. Tomorrow we're going to be doing a live stream from SpeckleCon. What do you think of the hats?
They
Beautiful.
look grainy. Yes.
Grainy.
Yeah, at least on my internet connection. I like them. That's pretty cool. Did you do the design?
I found someone on Fiverr,
ChatGPT
actually.
is done.
No, ChatGPT. It gave me the concept.
Who used
actually.
ChatGPT? Okay.
Oh, no.
We need to get a merge site.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, next step, hold on, can we have the bricks and bytes on here? Somewhere here, bricksbytes.com.
Yeah, we have distributors in Germany, US, Poland, UK.
Mm-hmm.
We do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll send you guys a copy. So we will
Yes,
So do you think it's a good idea that we wear these tomorrow during the live stream or not?
I'll be
No.
taking photos of you wearing.
Bring your cowboy hat.
So there's that. Anyway, let's do this. So, Dustin, remote company.
Yes, sir.
Why are company offsites important?
I just wanted to say before you start that we met you in person last year in November, I think, in Boost, right? And you look at least 2-3 years younger on these photographs than in person. What did you do?
Well, those are kind of like, they're actually related questions. So, I was just starting out Ediphi when we first met, and starting a business is really hard. But once you get going, I realized I wanted to do Ediphi differently than I did Building Connected. And I think when I did in Building Connected, I fell in a trap a lot of founders fall into. And that's, you become incredibly unhealthy because you focus everything on the business, and then you don't realize that you're hurting the business by not taking care of yourself. And like the last 12 months, I've been on a pretty hard regimen. I don't drink anymore. I work out 6 days a week. Before this podcast, I usually do an hour run. So I ran for an hour this morning. Started taking creatine, and not giving supplement advice, but I find it really good.
I take
did not
creatine
take
daily, by the
Ozempic
way.
or testosterone or anything. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Are you showing this slide with the photo?
Yeah. Let me share my screen.
I can just say one
So,
thing on
company
creatine. The only
offsites.
the only downside that I read about this is potentially it makes your hair fall out, which I don't know since I've been taking it whether my hairline is starting to recede, but I think it's either age or creatine which is doing it to me.
No, it was genetic on with you.
So you guys can now see the company offsite. We had 41
yeah.
people. Now, mind you, we're only 2 years old. 41 people, many of them less than a month or two at the business. Many of them I've never met in person. And so we flew everyone. We had people coming in from Portugal, from Spain, from Brazil, from Argentina, 18 different states in the US, all coming to, actually, we did it in Tiburon. And so it was a time for us to sit down and chat, a time for us to meet engineers, for people to ask questions. The first component of it was Mike and I spent literally 3 hours explaining what is pre-con, who are our competitors, how are we going to go about things different, what's our end goal. So our mission is to empower the people that plan the built world. So how are we going to support the planners, the people that work in pre-con, not just the estimators today, but the owners, the architects, people in business development, even the subcontractors? How do they fit into our greater strategy to empower those people? Yeah, we did a mission vision session. We did tactical sessions. We went through each department and what they're working on. We talked about goals, but then we had team dinners. We did escape rooms. If you've ever done escape rooms, the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco has like world-class escape rooms. So we divided up into 10 or 11 person teams, and each team went through an escape room. I am proud to say everyone got out of their escape room. I did not. My team got second. My team got second.
That's good for the mid-year reviews, right? You escaped the escape room.
Well, I did tease them off. If your team doesn't get out of the escape room, we got to put you on a PIP. But look, I think these are one of the most constructive uses of capital for any startup. The level of which we were able to transfer the information in Micah I's heads into everyone else is something that's so hard to create via Zoom calls and just when you're a remote company. Like what we got done, I felt like in 3 days might have taken us 3 months in sort of a standard practice at this company. People left. I had engineers flying international, slacking me on, telling them, I can't wait to go code. I can't wait to experiment on this. I'm so pumped to be here.
Nice.
So it's just a wonderful tool for startups.
Congrats, man.
Dustin, I'm just curious, out of how big is the team in total?
In total, 50, including contractors.
Okay, and what's the makeup right now in percentage in terms of like business development?
We're about 60% R&D, 20% everything else, or 40% everything.
Okay.
Dustin, as you are a remote, have you found? Go, Patrick. You go.
Top left corner. I hope I'm not ignorant asking this, but what's the flag in the background? Or is that a flag?
That is them getting out of an escape room. So I think that was the Roosevelt room they were in. So each escape room had a different theme. We were in the Houdini escape room. There was a Roosevelt one. There was an Edison one. And then there was like more of a futuristic one. And they all have different puzzles. Incredibly fun.
Okay.
Dustin, I'm curious.
Patrick, can Dustin compete with a VC-like retreats?
Definitely. My VC retreats are usually at a truck stop.
And then we rented out, shout out to Darren Bechtel and his wife, Sam. We rented out their restaurant in San Francisco called Izzy's. We rented out the top establishment. They have amazing food. Then we had some drinks. Then we went to a dive bar afterwards where I showed the young ones I can still shoot pool. So it was very nice. We had a team run on Thursday morning where 5 of us went and ran some miles. So it was good.
Dustin, have you found anything like since you've been working remote, any kind of like systems or things, rituals that you do to like assist the fact that you are not directly in the same room as your teams, therefore like transfer of knowledge can be as you say, not difficult, but like different to when you're in person interacting?
We're heavily using Notion. to document everything, and a lot of AI tools to help people understand where to look and where to find this information. There's a few solutions that we've looked at and are probably going to implement. One of them, I'm forgetting the name right now. I will get it for next session. That
Sure.
kind of helps you celebrate teams first.
Interesting. Nice. Very cool. And whilst sorry?
Oh, I was just going to say, we got a lot of startups listening to this podcast, and I think some of them are scared about how much money they spend on these offsites. Like that, when you go on an offsite, don't worry about your team dinner cost, or don't try to nickel and dime it. Make sure that everyone really enjoys that trip, because you want an enthusiastic culture, that people know that you as a CEO and you and your co-founders care about them and want to show your appreciation. Because if you have a dedicated team, they're going to way outproduce people that, are just there for a paycheck and just use it as a job. So that'd be one advice about it. I mean, obviously don't start ordering Dom at dinner, but
yeah. Depends what stage you're at. Only after Series B.
It does. If you're in AI and your valuations are 10 billion for no reason, then order it all.
Cool. Okay. Thanks for sharing, Dustin. Let's go to the government shutdown. So I think people, well, let's put Dustin in the spotlight again, but as you are over there and you're experiencing it, but I think people will now know that the government shutdown in the US has been something like 36 days now.
Yes.
What was the reason for it, and why is it still lasting? And is it good or bad?
So the contention is over ACH subsidies, where we have some benefits that are set to expire, that were expired by the Trump Big Beautiful Bill, and Democrats are pushing back and saying they want those extended. Those were added during COVID, so they were not part of the ACH plan. So it's basically just it's actually such a small issue, and we were talking before this. It's kind of like, hey, we got a kitchen fire in an apartment complex, so instead of let's blow up the building to put out the kitchen in one apartment fire. And we're just blowing up everything for such a minute issue. I think it ends up, I ChatGPT'd it, whether this goes or not is about 300 billion over 10 years, which in our budget is not a lot of money over 10 years. I mean, I think we should
be precedents to further, I don't know, reductions or further increases, perhaps?
Assuming that it's carried forward, it would be 300 billion over 10 years.
What I'm saying is that if it gets passed in terms of that, there will be these payouts, then that probably is a precedent for other subsidies in different, I don't know, departments or stuff like that.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about subsidies. It's there is no line. You just extend it, and then you add another subsidy, and then you never retract them. We have a lot of COVID area spending that have remained as a part of our budget
operations.
It's just so frustrating. I mean, people I think can guess kind of where I am politically, but I would be in favor of whatever side just gives up, because we need the government unlocked. I mean, Patrick, you told me about our military in Germany. That's a sad situation.
Yeah, they were advised by the administration, hey, please get your food now in the local soup kitchen. I'm not kidding you, right? So that's what was being reported. That's these are the people that serve the country, the first and foremost. So that's something that I think when we're at that state, you better find a solution quick. It reminds me, as an observer, right? Reminds me of the divorce going ugly, where both divorcees fight over that little ugly porcelain cat figure that the grandmother put on the
I'll let you take it.
No, exactly, right. But now both sides make it a principle that the other side can't have it, and that's why they fight. It's it reminds me of that.
So what's the situation in Germany in terms of, Patrick? What's the issue in Germany
with divorces?
On this side?
No issues. No issues, man. All awesome.
Yeah.
It's never been better. Rosy days, all rainbowy. But no, sorry, did my cat figurine metaphor trigger your question, or why do you ask about Germany?
Is there any governmental problem, like kind of a la US shutdown?
So no shutdown or anything. No, I mean, we have a democratically elected coalition government of the two major centrist parties, center left plus center right. Technically, it's functioning. Practically, they don't get a lot done currently. But to be fair, in the first, so from March through May, which was technically minus 30 days plus to plus 60 days into the administration, they got a lot of capital and international excitement mobilized into Germany. So I think for this year, they're sort of ahead of the curve. These are the 4.5 trillion US dollars, sorry, 4,500 billion US dollars that they mobilized. So on that front, I would say, this year they did the right things. On immigration, migration, border issues, let's say, cautious progress.
I mean, from a UK perspective, all I can say, Dustin, is you are lucky in the US. Your government has only been shut down for 36 days and not 8 years like we've experienced over here in the UK.
Is it shut down? No, it's not shut down. It's just not performing.
Metaphorically.
Just not metaphorically, exactly. Countless general elections.
Should shut themselves down.
I think it will come. I think the next election will be super rise of the populist kind of more right-wing, right-leaning parties over here called the Reform. I think that all polls
Are you guys going right?
Could...
Are you guys moving right?
Yes.
Most of Europe is.
Very strongly, actually.
What's happening
It's kind of like we are inverse to you all. When you guys lean right, we move left. Is that the way the world works? Because New York just went real left.
But that's
I was going to say, what's happened to the real estate?
Country in a large country.
New York.
I think you should have sold 3 months ago.
You should have sold 3 months ago.
Why?
Before he was elected, yeah?
I mean, if there's a rent break that Mamdani will now institute, then that caps the business case that you can have for real estate. The amount of revenue, it caps the amount of reinvestment into the same building. We had it in the pre-discussion. And we have anecdotes in all our friend circles of people that live in New York that actually put their house in very desirable places on the market in the last 2 to 3 weeks, and they still haven't gotten an offer, which is something that in New York, that doesn't happen. You usually, when you put it on the market, you get above price offers in desirable locations. So it looks a little bit different currently.
Yeah. I actually think this is all part of a next kind of cycle, and it will bring opportunities down the line sooner or later for people to buy cheaper, perhaps. And it will all turn itself around. And New York, places like New York and London, they will always be great places to be and to visit, to work and socialize. So
yeah, I think that was kind of the aim of the people that voted, right? Because is this Mamdaz? I don't know the full name. Mamdazi. He was more kind of appealing to the younger generation of people who were fed up with like New York real estate prices and so on. So that was kind of the objective.
I mean, they don't have to live in New York. Yeah, they can live outside or somewhere else. No one is saying that you have to live in New York. Oh, I don't have money.
Well, I'll say this about the new election. This is actually, I'm sorry, New York has to be the guinea pig. I actually want whatever his name is to try to operate the grocery stores, because I want this stupid social debate, because when he tries to operate like citywide grocery stores, they will be an epic failure. There is no way he's going to be able to competitively manage the logistics of operating grocery chains competitive to what the grocery stores already do, and not either lose a bunch of money because they're going to have to subsidize to make it affordable, just so that people will stop saying the government can do it as effectively as private. It will be.
Maybe he has read 1 or 2 history books from communist governments, because the way you make your socialist economy really efficient is forging the reports. So
there you go. But like, I actually want, I mean, at this point, just go ahead and try it so it can blow up, and then we can always reference. No, you can't say it was done in other countries. It was done right there in New York City, and because it will fail, or it will be massively subsidized, and then it'll just be awful.
Yeah, and actually surprising that this has been tried in the past in like communistic countries, and people don't see it, don't recognize it. And I think it's again part of a cycle. People don't know it until they find out, oh, this was completely rubbish idea, and it all goes back again nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Kind of like
demographic
people don't
amnesia.
believe you that getting punched in the face hurts. So they want to get punched in the face. It's weird.
I think as a human, we just think short term. We just want for us, the best for us.
course.
We don't look at like last 70 years.
Yeah,
That's the
generations recycle.
And look, let's
go
just
through
put this
the
on the
same.
record. That happens to all parts of the political spectrum. That happens to the far right. That happens to the far left. That happens to the center. We all have like demographic amnesia. Unfortunately, if mankind could live longer to have less of that amnesia, you would all of a sudden see real prosperity. But unfortunately, we're bound to repeat mistakes that 3 generations ago were already made.
That's why you can be smart when you're young, but not that wise.
Yeah.
I was a smart
very
20-year-old. I was an idiot, though.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, makes sense. Hey, shall we go on
I
to...
was smart. I'm trying to be an idiot more.
Well, you're doing a great job, man. Shall we go into some construction-related topic here? There's been some exciting, interesting, eye-opening, in fact, news about Turner Construction, who have signed a very large enterprise deal with not Microsoft, OpenAI, which I think is very kind of interesting based on some of the discussions we've had on here. And I refer to our discussions around how companies in the enterprise space are more likely to adopt the company that I just mentioned, Microsoft, because they're enterprise ready. But turns out the number one on the ENR list, Turner Construction, have gone straight to OpenAI, and they have not held back. I think it looks like they have bought a license, from what I can see, for every single one of their employees. So not any kind of like phased roll. Well, maybe there's some testing, which is not obvious from reading the article here, but this is like a full whack enterprise rollout.
But what does it mean really? Because I've got a business, ChatGPT, and it doesn't mean anything. That things I can just read my emails quickly. I can create some things based on what I've got in a database, but it doesn't solve any problems really, or doesn't bring them any further.
Well, and in fact, according to the article, it says Turner employees have created 400 plus custom AI applications and unlocking more than 70,000 hours of annual capacity through productivity gains. Someone calculated the value of the deal to be roughly $3.4 million US dollars. And I think also, just to throw another kind of discussion point into the arena, ChatGPT wrappers posing as AI products, maybe in a bit of trouble. What do we think? Patrick, your opinion?
I actually think it's like a great marketing material for OpenAI to other large general contractors. But these numbers can be, I'm not saying they're not true, but what is 400 applications? Like, do they replace 400 startups or 400 software subscriptions?
Nothing has changed with this announcement. So I think the world is the same as yesterday. That's the good news. Not to get cosmically sarcastic now, but just what has really changed? Not a lot. In the sense that this risk and this move towards, okay, why wouldn't the large foundational players go after large enterprise customers? That was clear to us 2.5, 3 years ago. Yeah, so I think nothing much has changed. It's just playing out exactly how it's supposed to play out, I think. And the real problems that are truly construction specific have a lot to do with end-to-end integration, with ontology sets that describe construction. We have that completely not fixed data infrastructure within these companies. And on top of these 3 things, AI should run. And so this announcement doesn't tell me anything about that. And until that happens, I'll continue waiting or investing.
Martin?
I said, like, to me, until there is some tangible things that come out of it, like internal innovation, which would bring, I don't know, applications which are performing real tasks or providing some outcomes, then it's just great marketing material, for other general contractors to to
Adopt
start
OpenAI.
getting interested in OpenAI. Yeah.
Dustin, how about you?
I would suspect that Turner has some real use cases that OpenAI would be uniquely positioned to solve just because of their scale and Turner's scale and their infrastructure and different, like they have a lot of different tech stacks out there, and agents could help move data back and forth. I don't really believe that they said each employee saving 4 to 5 hours per week. Those translate to hard savings. Like that doesn't make sense. It's a rough order of magnitude 2 to 300 million a year in savings. I just can't see that translation actually being true. I think you're not lowering the amount of staff you're going to invoice the project, and there could be a reduction in overhead. They have a huge staff to manage their SAP sort of programs and getting data in there. But like Patrick said, I don't think it changes the world. I think that it indicates that construction will be targets just because of the sheer volume of businesses out there for these large model companies. That does affect people that are sole AI companies that aren't trying to solve specific workflows and create some unique solutions or unique models of their own.
So, Dustin, I don't know if you work with Turner or not, but could OpenAI create an agent which would be equivalent of Ediphi?
So, could they? Theoretically, yes. The unique problem with Precon is you don't have a lot of structured information to train the model on. I would love to work with Turner trying to do that, but they actually primarily estimate using Excel across their organization. You need to have a methodology and structured data to start doing generative estimating, which we hope to get to. And the first thing you have to do is, okay, you have to understand not just the line items in the estimate, but how those line items derive from geometries of the physical world and the programming space. And that's kind of one of the unique things we're doing with Ediphi, is having estimates that contain a lot of the project metadata and attributes, but in geometry, so that we can start, when you get new projects, start helping you estimate, and then even inform designers what to design. Yeah, theoretically, OpenAI could do anything. When you have $1 trillion at your fingertips, what can't they do?
Yeah, but like everyone can do anything if they have money. We can say that this way, but there's lots of every startup spending years in making of their product, and lots of funding, I guess. And I don't think you can very simply exchange that for very generalistic OpenAI and thinking that they will attack each niche and suddenly replace startups.
So that's the thing. The more scale you reach, the less interesting fragments of scale become. So in plainer terms, right? Here's a metaphor. If someone asks you on, your Reddit feed, or more specifically my Reddit feed, someone asked the other day, hey, what would I have to do in order to eat 20,000 kilocalories a day? I mean, 20,000 kilocalories, that's a lot of food.
2 liters of water.
So you got it, right? It's about energy density that you have to go for. By the way, if you eat 20,000 a day, I think you're completely nuts. And if your body doesn't blow up, yeah, well, I think you would run into completely different 24-hour issues. But anyway, right? So exactly, Martin, right? So you would have to go for energy density. And the same thing can be said about once you reach that scale, and once that scale is not yet completely substantiated by your business, perhaps, there's promise valued in, etc. What does it help you if you close a 3 million contract, but actually you need to do 100 billion in revenue? Well, that's the thing with scale, right? So the less interesting become fragments of scale. And now you need to actually find these super big energy dense buckets that can literally sustain the valuation that you do. So that's what I was saying in one of the other episodes. Is it really that interesting for an OpenAI to go after $1 million enterprise contracts and accumulate 10,000 of them? That's hard to do and quite different.
Is there any speculation of what's the value of this deal?
Yeah, I said it's roughly 3 million. I think someone calculated it as 3.1, 3.4.
Oh,
so I mean, great deal for a normal size company. But it's like, if you want to eat 20,000 calories a day, here's a raspberry.
You know, sumo wrestlers eat like 10,000 per day. Just saying.
It's interesting.
I also wanted to share something. Someone posted in a WhatsApp group this summary of OpenAI's CFO's speech, and point 6 of this says that OpenAI will do creative commercial deals. So they're not just going to sell access to a pharma company on a per token basis. They're going to demand a revenue share of the profit the pharma company brings in from developing drugs using ChatGPT. So relating this to construction and maybe Turner, if OpenAI help create some form of new tool or workflow workaround or whatever it might be in relation to construction, they're going to want to take a profit out of the or revenue share out of the profit generated as a result of this. Creative commercial deal.
Zero.
Yeah, no.
Zero chance.
No. 9.
No. I also want to shout out to Mike, who Mike posted a comment on our live feed here. He said, I think that if I may say, AI integration into workflows, specifically narrow AI as opposed to generalized, could reduce overhead and streamline. But I think the real promise comes from the reduction in turnarounds, making for a stronger volume competitor. If I can convert deliverables faster, even with a similarly sized workforce as before, I become streamlined and scale at the same time using what I already have. I don't know if it makes sense. Makes sense to you guys? I was reading.
Too complicated for me.
Well, I mean, that's essentially what the press release is saying, is that through all these agents, you're realizing they're just doing work that was normally done manually. And so if there's less manual work, then theoretically you have less overhead. The problem is it really doesn't translate. There's a couple of baked in things with construction, like at a project. Show me how that's actually going to reduce the amount of staff you're going to forecast for that project.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to not still have that engineer, that project manager, that superintendent. Whether they're doing mundane work or not, you still want that supervision and those people to be able to oversee that. It's very far away from being, you know what, I don't even need a safety coordinator now because I have all of this image, and we're going to have Jeevan on, but we're having all this image recognition. So we don't need a safety coordinator going in and inspecting and writing reports. I think we're really far away where it actually says, you know what, through AI, when we submit an RFP, our resource plan for that project has been reduced. That's a fundamental difference. Now, maybe it's less work and, people need less training, so they cost less. Those are all probably valid assumptions. I just think right now, where you could probably see an overhead reduction is on the G&A spend. Like, hey, accounting at Turner must be crazy with how many business units they have reporting to Hocktief and SAP and international codes and all those things, and just managing the data transfer between all the projects and making sure those are structured. I could see a huge savings there. Like literally could see a reduction in workforce. But maybe where they go, hey, client, we're going to have less staff on this project right now. I just don't see that.
I'm exactly in your camp, Dustin. I think that's actually what happens with most of white collar automation until you actually standardize outcomes and then standardize processes first, regardless of how you do it, what kind of technology or whatever. Someone asked me the other day, hey, what would, you've been on an executive career, blah, 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 blah. What would be your advice to other executives that need to procure technology? And I said, forget technology. The advice is standardize your processes, because only after you've standardized your business processes, you can actually communicate what kind of output you need from Dustin at Ediphi, how you actually can define how these workflows feed into each other, and ergo how the technology should also feed into each other. Once you have a standardized business process landscape, you can then also standardize the data that you need in order to produce these outcomes. But nobody invests in that because it's painful, right? It's unsexy. Nobody wants to do it. And white collar, so overhead staff, in these kinds of organizations, they are the least process standardized. This is where, what's Jim doing? He's been here always. I think he's preparing a meeting for tomorrow. Awesome. Let's show up to the meeting, right? No, hold on. What exactly is the outcome? We've all been there. And so in white collar, it's the worst. Whereas if at least you're walking into a factory environment, you typically have the standardized outcomes and then the standardized processes, and then you can apply technology. And so in white collar, we don't have that. And I think that's exactly then leading to what you're saying, Dustin, is because I don't have that, and then I apply technology on top of it, it doesn't mean your resources go away. The resources will just look for a new type of useless outcome to generate.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's funny you bring that up because one of our pitches is you can standardize your pre-con process on Ediphi, which is a higher level pitch than what estimators are used to. So it is one of the sales processes that we actually deal with a lot. It's not like everyone, oh, how do I estimate this one project? No, we want to help you estimate that project when you're talking from in BD all the way through, and then how you standardize that across your entire organization, which is thought that a lot of builders aren't looking to have. Sometimes they don't know that they need to standardize this, but if you have that standardization, then you can start looking at how do we make better outcomes? How do we monitor from the initial input all the way till the output, and where is the inefficiencies that we can actually realize gains from? But when you try to just solve like something that you see as a problem from disparate events, then you're never creating a process. So it's really hard.
Are you talking about standardizing processes across the business or within a department of a business?
All of it. All of it.
So,
because if you
can't
standardize
Ediphi,
the outcome, what are you doing?
On the example of Ediphi, for example, you would be standardizing the pre-con in a business, right? You wouldn't be touching.
We touch operations as well, because when you finalize your GMP, that is going into your operations. That is also, we're helping formalize the staffing plan for that project. So that's your staff, which is talking to operations. But yeah.
I just think how deeply generalists like OpenAI can penetrate a business if it's only on the surface to look through like the departments and like on the common.
They can if they do one thing, if they actually build the forward deployed integration services. So that's why they actually go after Palantir with all of this. I spoke with the Europe, let's call it CEO. It's not the nomenclature that they use, but with the Europe CEO of one of the 4 largest strategy consultancies in the world. And so over dinner, he's a friend of mine. I asked him, hey, so how do you see Palantir, OpenAI moving into your space? And he said, look, in his worldview, he looks at the stack of an organization, his clients, as there's certainly somewhere an application layer, but the rest is a lot of human layer, where it's about how do you organize, how do you communicate, how do you effectuate change within that, etc. And so the application layer needs integration services, and then you need integration service for the entire human component of it. And so that's something that a technology player, even with forward deployed engineering, isn't paid to do. They are also not valued in the public market to do that. So that was his perspective, why he thinks both businesses will still continue to coexist, which I thought was, fascinating perspective. Now, what he didn't say is that part of his application integration business is still getting chipped away.
So you're saying that maybe there will be a creation of a consultant that will be helping implement.
Yeah, already.
Yeah. It's actually, someone said that like
Patrick,
Salesforce consultancy part is like, it's worth like half of the value. How the market for it is like half the value of the of the business or something like that. Yeah,
that's correct.
I want to embellish Patrick's point as well. But when I hear about this argument about how when technology saves you time, and to your point about people finding new and more useless things to do. If you have a product which saves you time, does that just not enable you to spend more time looking for more things that save you more time?
Or more things that keep you busy and make someone think that you are worth your salary, right? I mean, that's sort of what happens in bureaucracies.
Yeah, dang it.
I mean, if government had nothing to fight about, then what would they do?
Yeah. I mean, so
helping people
serious
do
but
their
fun
own
question.
Job.
So you have legal AI. Does anybody think you will have less law firms in the US?
That will be the leading indicator for me that AI has reached like a point where it's going to drastically start affecting white collar, because the one tremendous cost that we all have, every business has, is legal. And it's the one that language models are most optimized to absolutely eradicate, and they have not done anything. You're literally built to destroy legal fees.
And you would really only have to look at the US market. If you guys, so there's a Wikipedia entry, I don't know, I was on that page randomly a couple months ago. And if you look at the, I don't know, top 100 or 200 law firms by number of lawyers and revenue, 190 out of 200 is from the US. The US is the legal market. So if it doesn't happen there, that tells you something.
I actually think, just
you take all the big ones, DLA, Wilson Sonsini. What are their revenues? I mean, the partners now charge $1,500, $2,000 an hour.
Yeah, it's between 1 to 5 million per FTE actually per year.
Yeah, so I actually saw, talking about disruption
solutions.
of the legal model. I actually did see something that where a law firm are now offering two types of service. One which is based on their advice is based on a large language model. The other, you get the human and you speak to the human and it gives you the advice or whatever. The service with the large language model kind of thing is like 80% cheaper or whatever, but they give you no kind of guarantee or professional kind of whatever it might be protection against that. And then the other is obviously the human is the same service and so on. So I do think that there is kind of
like commercial product
disruption. It's a commercial product, yeah. I do think that there is like a disruption to the model, but ultimately people still want to speak to people, or it could just be a funnel into the human.
I don't know if it's good or bad, but I know who most of these law firms are. I don't know if
I hope because you were on the winning side, but it's a long list.
I beat Baker McKenzie. They did sue Building Connected. They lost.
That would be number 9.
Yeah. It's because I use number 3.
Profit per planet 2 million.
So these are numbers from, I don't know, a couple of years ago. So between 1 to 2 million routinely per lawyer. I think there were some that were specialized that had a little bit larger. Here was one here, 4.4 per lawyer. So yeah, good. And just look at the flags, man. Just look at the flags. This is,
we love
it's a good industry.
So the way I would see it is, so if I have an analogy to engineering, structural engineering in my case, every engineer operates now on the software and they use for calculations software. They don't do hand calculations, almost never.
What?
And you could think that there could be a case where a customer could buy a software that would be B2C designed rather than all of the software is B2B designed for structural engineers. Why? Because there's a compliance requirement and you need to have some sort of signature to comply with this requirement. And until in the law environment, it will be the same requirement for someone to sign something off from the law point of view. I just can't see this trickling down to the customer directly, like with engineering, simply.
Well, think about most business law. There is no requirement that someone be a legal representative. I could draft all of my legal documents.
Yeah.
If I want to if I want to create a safe, I can create a safe. If I want to create a Series A, I can do all that. I can do the filing with the state. I mean, you talked about large buckets AI, ChatGPT could go after. I mean, I don't think they'll do it, but they could create the most streamlined law service of all time.
That's a great point. Yeah.
I don't know why they haven't done that. The language model was literally trained to and is designed to, it was trained on every single court case ever, trained on every legal publication ever, read every book ever. Like you would be able to draft everything and digest the meaning of any new legal context quicker than any law firm could.
I mean, I think the perfect example was the one we used a few weeks ago also is about how when ChatGPT first come out, it was the end of copywriters and content producers. Yeah, OpenAI, was it 6 weeks ago, put the ad out for head of content or content marketer or whatever it was. Perfect example.
Yeah. The caveat is the mistakes in law are so huge that you don't want hallucination having you not make a mistake in a contract.
So I just asked GPT to sum the total revenue of the list that we just saw. So these 100 make 168 billion in revenue. You could do that. That's a good division for OpenAI.
That's some calorie density.
When are you chatting with Mike on the group?
Yes.
Chat?
Yeah, Mike, he's shouted out. He's sent in the legal space. I think that there will always be a comparable human element. Consider this: how long will it be before photo and video evidence is inadmissible? I assume that he's referring to that a lot of photo and videos would be generated by AI in the future. I don't know. I've asked a question. And the existence of AI
I think in civil litigation. Well, so the civil and civil cases and anything that ends up in litigation where you're going to have a judge. So I think we're really far away from not having people involved in that. There's a whole lot of just business contracts and agreements that require law firms. I mean, I'll give some context. I just got venture debt from JP Morgan, and shit, even doing venture debt was expensive as all hell. And it was just legal people going back and forth.
What's the percentage of I don't know, deal or however?
1%.
1%.
Roughly.
Mm-hmm. Cost of doing
legal fees relative to the amount of venture debt
I like Mike's points here. Thanks, Mike, for the input. One thing I think there's a premise that you're making when you say, hey, if I can be more streamlined, then I can drive more business. Well, that's if you're not bottlenecked by demand. So that's one. And if you're not bottlenecked by decision making. So unfortunately, I see a lot of companies at scale that at some point they have the information, but they bottleneck themselves by decision making, because to process the decision, it requires alignment or it requires shareholder approval. You have to go through budget cycles, etc. So you can actually do this, silo optimization of, okay, now this one part of my business is more streamlined, but overall you haven't debottlenecked yourself because maybe your demand is your bottleneck or maybe your decision making is your bottleneck. So in theory, what you're saying, I think is absolutely true. But in practice, you meet these other bottlenecks in the bottleneck theory. And because you're not removing these at the same time, the people that you made more efficient are now doing, again, useless things. That's unfortunately what happens in bureaucratic environments.
He wants to rob Federal Reserve.
Okay. We have Jivan waiting. Let's let Jivan in. Hey, Jivan.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Jivan, I'm certainly convinced that you are doing more and more announcements just so you could come on the show more often.
That's the whole plan. That's it. I just, I see Dustin on there. I'm like, God, man, how do I get that gig? I'm just trying to announce as much stuff as possible.
I keep catching up with old colleagues from back in the day, and they're like, you look like you're having fun. I'm like, yeah, I get like an open mic to kind of talk and not worry about what I say. So it's pretty good hanging out with these guys.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, we have to worry because our insurance premiums are going up and up and up.
I liked your promo video with the Disperse CEO. The promo video was fun.
Thanks. Yeah, more dumb videos. Yeah, I'm just a content factory at this point, guys.
You should get it to
be joining us pretty soon, by the way.
Yeah.
What's that?
You should get it to VC since you're a content factory. Instantly differentiated.
Oh my God, I don't know.
Yeah, you need to ask
was
Dustin
this your
how
first
he managed.
acquisition?
Oh, good.
Sorry.
Oh, is this my first acquisition for OpenSpace? Yeah, in life, no. And I guess I've been on both sides, right? First company we sold, so I was on the other side. And then, 3D robotics, there were some acquisitions. There was one in particular, but really it was like very much of a talent acquisition. It wasn't really much more beyond that.
Yeah, I think we actually had a segment where I talked about, I think that small acquisitions are something that private startups don't utilize enough. So it's kind of cool to see you doing it. And I always reference that when Building Connect acquired TradeTap, it was like one of the best things we ever did.
Yeah, totally.
There we go.
What's up, Ollie?
Hey, Ollie.
Apologies for doing well, thank you. Apologies for running 2 minutes late. I was just trying to fix my river setup, but got there in the end.
You don't need to apologize here, my friend. Well, all right, guys, shall we dive into this? Yeah, so OpenSpace acquired Disperse. I think that some time ago you also announced a partnership, and now this is formalized into a formal acquisition. Jivan, let's hear it from you first. Like, what was the thinking, the reasoning? Like, why did it go from partnership to acquisition? What was there for you?
Yeah, man. So I guess I'll just a little context and then what happened. So, OpenSpace as a whole, like we've entered this next chapter of the company from having a really great reality capture solution to being this visual intelligence platform, right? Where builders can just execute work just way more efficiently, make better decisions because reality data is oftentimes way better than just reading documents, right? So we saw our customers like just wanting to use the data more and more. The second thing is one of the promises of that way of working is progress tracking. I mean, I think we've all been talking about that for years since before Ollie and I started our companies, really. And I think what Ollie had built, it works, is good. Customers actually like it. It's not experimental. It's not like a neato beta. It's actually something that delivers genuine, actual value. And so I think what we found in the partnership were a few things. One, well, that it wasn't just like this neato thing, but it was genuinely valuable. And not just for like projects with extra budget to spend on something cool, but for like a huge part of the market, which is where OpenSpace lives for builders. And the second thing was that our customers, like, I think they wanted just a more unified experience. By that, I don't necessarily mean on the product and technology. A joint solution worked great. It's just interacting with one company is just a little easier. And then the last thing I would say, and we can talk about this more, there's a big strategic benefit to us being one company, and this has to do with like this next wave of AI generally, which is moving from document-oriented AI to spatial artificial intelligence, which is, computers being able to really understand real physical reality. And I think in our partnership with Disperse now being one company, we have this massive amount of data OpenSpace is collecting, right? And that's growing a lot with images. It's growing a lot more with OpenSpace Field, with both images and effectively labels as people describe what they're seeing in those images as they use our field system. And then with progress tracking, with this human verified process, you're just creating this really, really rich, unique, massive data set. So it gives us a chance to build some automation in the future that I think is just not going to happen without the company all being under one roof.
Cool. Hey, can I ask quickly, Ollie? I think we haven't formally spoke to you before, but so it would be good to hear from your side. But I think one thing that we've heard through industry is that you took over Disperse. I don't know how long ago, but it was. But since then, like the company went on some kind of like different trajectory, and things really started to like blossom. So maybe you could talk about like how you tackled that when you came into Disperse, and then. Yeah, we'll go into the what did you do to kind of put it on this path, and then obviously which has now led to the acquisition.
Thank you. Starting with the big questions. First of all, I want to also just thank you, all of you, for the invitation. Funnily enough, it's actually my first podcast as well. So you have the honors of doing my first podcast ever. I know Mr. Will Sinnes has actually represented Disperse more than a couple of times.
Yes, a few times.
Yeah. By the way, we take it as a major compliment when people come on Bricks. We take it as a major compliment when people come on Bricks and Bytes for the first time as a podcast, because it means that maybe it's a podcast worth being on.
Exactly.
I think 3 years ago, he was our like a second guest or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. I think he was an early adopter as well. So, yeah. And he definitely can encourage this as well. But yeah, I think to kind of think back of the last 18 months, so I mean, the business has been like overall going really well. So like we more than doubled over the last 18 months. And I think what you're seeing in the market as well, like there's just more and more demand for like the solutions that we provide, which is, hey, that's sort of progress tracking end to end across, all the different geographies that we out there. In terms of like what the magic sort of recipe of like, hey, what changed maybe when I took over? I mean, I think the biggest sort of kind of credit always goes to the team. I think we've just built like a really strong focused team on that side. I think the key thing I've just always been kind of pushing is like focus, and like just building a high performance culture. I think everything starts from just like getting, everyone kind of united under the same mission, working towards the same direction, and really getting like 120% out of everybody. It's not always super easy to do that, but that's how we've kind of been achieving, I think, this success as well. And yeah,
Nice.
I guess coming to this sort of, this open space piece, we have, of course, started the partnership like a year ago. And funnily enough, I think it's even surpassed my sort of wildest expectations in terms of what I was expecting to get out of it. And I think especially over the last 6 months, we've now been closing even enterprise deals with companies like Cleveland Construction, Diversified Interiors, and others, BotCon in Canada. And we're just seeing opportunities, in the UK, in Europe, in APAC, GCC, especially in the US. And I think what led to this decision as well is I think we all both combine, like sort of both have the same vision for what we want to do. And I think to be able to kind of combine both forces and bring strengths together just helps us sort of achieve that much, much faster. And again, I think it's a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun working with the OpenSpace team. I think they're a great group of people, and yeah, looking forward to kind of this next chapter as well.
So was it like a love of from first sight, or at what point you started thinking that that's a great match?
Well, Ollie and I, we met in London, and I mean, I'll take a talk at that. Ollie, I'm kind of curious what you think. This may be a general pattern for like successful, partnership turn acquisitions. It's this not a shotgun thing. I mean, we've been working together for a while, and we've known each other for multiple years, right? And so this idea had been sort of floating out there. And I think there's like two things we proved. Like one is the actual commercial viability, as Ollie was talking about, like to really genuinely prove with data that what we had as a joint solution genuinely sells, not just sells, but like expands and renews. I mean, that is the ultimate test, right? Especially for solutions that people really want, but are actually difficult to in fact deliver, right? So I think that was really cool just to get that confidence and to really see that happen. And then I think, like cultural alignment is so important, people have to just sort of proverbially speak the same language. And I think that's something we're able to I felt that was true really early on. And then, we of course had to test if it was in fact true by working together.
Wanted to ask you about the product. Will you be creating like a new product now, or like what's the roadmap looking like?
Yeah, I guess I'll tackle that. So, I mean, the nice thing about this is that it's not like this is a experimental acquisition. Like we've had this joint solution already that works. It's like, that's good, great. So I think our main goal really is just to scale it up and make it more accessible to more builders. Like that is job number one, which is kind of nice, Of course, I think we have very similar ideas of where we can take this overall vision in the future. And, we're working on that now, and there's a variety of directions I think we can go.
What about customers? Like, how are they feeling confused at some point, or how are you dealing with it?
I think the opposite is true, dude. They're like, I'm just to be real with you guys. Like many of them are like, why aren't you guys just one company? Like, could you just, I mean, I got that a lot, right? They're like, you should just buy Disperse. And so that's a good sign,
So that's what you did.
I guess. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's funny, there's a lot of ins and outs to this, and, being operators and into the space, there's a lot of should you do that or should you not? But I don't know. If you zoom out, I think, and ask most customers that are familiar with us and Disperse, they'd be like, this is a no-brainer that you did this.
Yeah, and I think I think with that's also gonna the reception we've also been getting from all the customers with whom we shared the news, it's been there's been pretty much zero surprises, and I think that's a good sign always. I think there's very much the vision that hey, it's not going to stay in many ways. It is in many ways already an integrated solution, but of course, kind of the roadmap is very much to continue bringing them together more as one. What that looks like, I think is still to be determined, and I think we want to also work together with all of our customers to kind of sort of shape that. But yeah, I think something that's probably helped as well thus far is that we've thankfully had the same colors. I think both have been like blue led sort of brands. So I think that's maybe also helped a fair bit.
Oh yeah. That would have been a real disaster trying to pick the color. So
as we've been chatting earlier on the show about OpenAI going after Palantir going after strategy consulting, and how everybody might be moving into a space where they need to wrap foundational AI solutions into, fancy term, forward deployed support. What's the plan here between Disperse joining OpenSpace? Is services going to be a big component of what you guys are going to do going forward?
Yeah, I guess maybe I'll take a crack at that and see what you think, Ollie. Like, I guess the first and most important thing is like, are you solving a real customer problem in a way they actually like and will pay for and continue to pay for after they have a good experience? And is there enough of a scaling factor that you can continue to absorb demand as it comes? And I think what we have together is a nice mix of those two. And I think it's an important part of the customer promise. Like the way the progress tracking solution works is a combination of technology and this human verification, right? Which I think customers just need today. I mean, I just don't think a fully automated solution is they're too rigid, and they're not trustworthy enough. So I think that's our approach. From our customer's point of view, they get something that just works and is great, and they have a conduit to us to adjust if there's something, if they want to change how they're tracking something, so that it's flexible. And I think that's super important for builders, because it's not even just each customer is different, each project is different. You know what I mean? So I think that overall blend you're talking about kind of makes sense for the way this technology works. And then at least my point of view is you make it efficient in a very kind of customer-centric way by chipping away at parts that make it a little faster, make it a little bit more reliable, and don't set yourself up for this all or nothing type technology bets.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's very much going to be that sort of roadmap where I think you'll always have a bit of both, but kind of, you're just continuously sort of optimizing it in a way.
Dustin, do you have one?
Has anything changes on the landscape of your competition right now, forces? Or maybe how competition should view you now?
I don't know. They should just not worry about us and do whatever they're going to do. I don't know. I mean, so I'm going to give you like my super annoying CEO answer, but I actually do genuinely believe it, and then I'll hopefully expand on it. It's like, I don't know. I view competition as one of those things that, one, if there's no competitors, you're probably not in a real market. So that's good to check that they exist. And then the second thing is you just want to be aware of them in the same sense your customers are aware. It's customer centric to be aware of your competition, but I don't think it's good to be competition centric, because then you start chasing all these, you're like on LinkedIn, oh my God, what they announced? Oh, I forgot about that. It's not good, So I think we're just trying to follow two things, what customers are kind of asking for as we evolve our solutions, and we kind of create, we are kind of warping reality a little bit as we put our solutions out there and they get scale. They kind of trigger things that the customers are asking for, which ideally is the same thing as our vision. And so, like what we're doing, like I said, is this visual intelligence platform narrative that working with reality data and images is really, really nice for people that work in real reality. That's builders. And that's just a more efficient way to do stuff. And we're just going to keep on pushing that thesis, both, and I would say, maybe to get a little bit more specific, there's pulling, insights out of that type of information, which is progress tracking, and then there's using that same insight to like simplify field workflows so that they're just less annoying. And those things totally go together, right? Because the more information you're gathering out there in the field of different modalities, the more real and trusted the insights layer are going to be anyways. So that's how we see things flowing. And I think there are different takes on reality data, and I think different competitors are sort of probing different parts of the space.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually curious as well. Where's the most customers of OpenSpace come from in terms of geography? And is this acquisition also going to help you tap more into European UK market?
Yeah, I mean, I would say our business. This is rough numbers. I think it's like not quite 70%, 60 something percent in the North America, inclusive of Canada, and the rest is the rest of the world. So it's not hyper concentrated in the US today, anyways. And I think one thing that is nice about working together first with Disperse and being one company is you already had teams on the ground in the UK and in Europe. And so our ability to interact with customers jointly already existed. So I don't think this is really about like pushing the vision of what we can do for the customers together primarily, and less about like a geography expansion. Although it's good because I think what Ollie has built definitely has had some really solid traction in some geographies where OpenSpace has been, but can expand a lot more with everything all under one roof.
Dustin, do you have one?
I'm trying to think. No, not off the top of my head.
If
You
not,
said
I
some
have
really
something
provocative
fun we can
things.
look at.
Go ahead.
Okay, let me share my screen. I'm going to completely change the tone, change the subject here. But are you guys finished on OpenSpace, or do you want to cover any more ground there? Martin, Patrick?
Oh
Ollie,
man, it's
Tim?
so exciting. I can't handle the silence. There's all these people thinking about things they could ask us.
I mean, we don't want to go too like, if we were doing like bricks and bytes, we may be asking some more forensic questions like value of acquisition, that kind of thing. But I'm sure that there was a reason that this kind of stuff was not included in the press release. So we don't want to prod too far, unless you want to share it, of course.
No.
You wanted a question? You have a question?
What I will say is this. I mean, like, I can say this. The deal was, a mixture of cash and stock, but a lot of stock. And I think that, I mean, whatever. I'm sure there's people that are like, oh, what is up? But the main narrative there, the main thing that matters is that it like means that we were like actually aligned together. When deals are all cash, that's great, for the sellers, and their investors. But that can sometimes indicate that they're not really in it for the long haul or share the same vision. So that was not the case here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask before you go on. Let me ask you a more provocative question. Who's more exciting to you right now, Autodesk or Procore?
Oh man. Okay. So here's what do I think about that? I would give Procore a slight edge, and no offense to our Autodesk partners, because I think they're doing amazing stuff too. And here's what I think that is going on with both companies. I think Autodesk has done a really nice job of really getting their solutions to be genuinely competitive on the PM side. And I think that there is something useful about having that kind of linking into the prior phases of design, right? That's obviously a strength of Autodesk's, BIM and Revit and that sort of thing. And I think they're genuinely, I see that as like a sideline observer. They're genuinely competing, especially in North America for Procore accounts, which was not possible before. I did not see that happening. I talked to our customers and some of them are switching to ACC. Like they really are. And I'm like, wow. And a lot of it is commercial oriented, right? But that wouldn't be possible if the products hadn't caught up enough. On the other hand, I really, being at Procore Groundbreak, and of course, this is something we've talked to them a lot. Obviously, like we are close with both companies, but it was cool to see some of their AI narrative revealed at Groundbreak, especially around the data that they have, which is a lot of good stuff, drawings, documents, submittals, all that kind of stuff, and starting to build some workflows around that. I think any company that is sort of a CDE-like company should do what Procore is doing. It's like not easy to do, but it makes a lot of sense. Like, why wouldn't you make it easier to find information in these data stores and build some kind of recipes or agents, whatever you want to call it, around simplifying that. So, I think Procore has announced that first.
Yeah, their AI agent narrative is much better than Autodesk at this point.
Yeah, I don't even know if Autodesk has much of one, right? Maybe I'm just not paying enough of attention to it, but yeah. So that's my take.
Ollie, what about
So
you?
my question to all of you: okay?
Between Procore and Autodesk,
If you have a particular opinion, go for it. If you don't want to, then that's also fine.
I would probably here have to defer to Jeevan. So I would say, on
Well,
this one, I'll
even
defer
if you had
Jeevan.
to own a stock, what stock would you own?
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a good question.
It's a different question.
So it's a different question and it's a good one. So I should say this. I don't own individual stocks personally. I'm not going to get into my whole financial advisor situation, but just to say, I don't have the brain capacity to think about individual stocks. So I'm answering your question totally in theory, right? And I think the question that Owen just asked is actually just a factor in which stock to own, right? Because I think with Autodesk, of course, that company is larger than the construction narrative, right? So you're looking at a company that's just fundamentally bigger than Procore. Right, I think that's true, just from a straight up valuation perspective. And so my comparison would be less like, do you want to be in companies that are, in the 5 to 15, $20 billion valuation or 50 plus? And I don't know, if I was buying stocks, kind of not knowing anything, I'd probably want to buy the somewhat bigger ones.
I wanted to
That's
ask
it. I mean,
all
it's
of
a dumb answer, but that's all I can really think of.
No dumb
I want-
answers. We didn't give financial advice anyway here.
Yeah,
Never.
totally. This is not financial advice. I'm not your lawyer. I should also say that.
guys, I wanted to ask all of you: is there any more space? Is there more space in construction tech for more acquisitions like that? Do you see there are companies that could be acquired by others, or it's a broad question, so anyone can chip in?
I've answered this before.
Or that's one of the kind.
Yeah, maybe. How's that for an answer?
I mean,
Someone go.
my personal opinion as well, I think that, I think the industry is, there's just way too many players. Like every time you go to Digital Construction Week or another conference, like you realize there's just way too many companies out there, which I think in very new industries is a good thing. Like in very sort of nascent, like kind of new technologies and everything else, like it's great that there's so many different players trying different things. But of course, for kind of more maturing markets, there's different kind of subsectors of construction tech, which are more mature than others. Of course, I think, consolidation will be a very natural sort of endpoint, I think.
Yeah, I think the biggest impedance right now is some of these companies have raised seed rounds at like a $30 million valuation, and they're not willing to take a haircut on that valuation where they could get what you guys just talked about, a stock deal that says, hey, your company's really only worth $5 million, but $5 million in stock, when you add this into our business, can be very creative. And maybe you can get back that valuation. But on the path on your own is never going to get you to this $30 million valuation. And people look at that. The problem is, and this is my opinion, is those seed rounds, you're not worth that much money when you raise at 30 million or 50 million or sometimes 100 million. You're not truly worth that. They didn't pay to acquire you. They paid to get ownership. They paid to get a percentage of a future. It's buying a future. And, if people were more willing to be truthful in their self-assessment, then I think a lot more deals could get done. Because I think there's a lot of creative companies that if you were working together, you'd be much more likely to succeed. I also say this because at some point I'm going to want to probably talk to some businesses and offer them some similar situations. Right. But even you said the right thing. Like it's a marriage, so you got to date someone for a long time.
Yeah, totally. I was joking around with a VC, and they're like, boy, if we had as much time as you did to evaluate whether you wanted to acquire Disperse for our deals, then that'd be really nice. And I was like, yeah, but you only have to be right 1 out of 15 times. Like we have to be right of 16 out of 15 times. So that's what's going on here,
Yeah, you can't mess one of those up.
I think in construction as well, it'll probably be quite... I think it'll be interesting to see how it develops, because I think, as the markets mature, like those sort of like M&A environments, I think they come through both marriages, but also through like pain and, suffering almost of like different companies. At the same time, when companies have those very sort of big cap tables, like you have to go through a lot of pain to get deep, companies to that state in a way. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it kind of evolves as well. I don't think there'll be any sort of big acquisitions anytime soon as a result, most likely. So.
Yeah.
Patrick,
I think there'll be companies that go extinct too, like as well, which is part of capitalism, So, we'll see. I mean, it'd almost be. This is a fairly brutal, could be a brutal thing, and I'm not an investor, so that is not a decision to make. But I'd almost wonder if I'd want to give my companies shorter runways just to see if they can make it or not, and not have them be in maybe mode for too long. Of course, the problem with that for construction industry is that it has some intrinsic velocity that isn't that high compared to other markets that buy. So a 12-month runway may not be enough to prove an idea. So I think that's an interesting tension too.
Guys, you are more than
Patrick,
welcome
any
to
thoughts on
continue your
consolidation?
discussion.
You be competitive in the investor market. I think that's where you're going with it.
Guys, you are more than welcome to continue this discussion, but both Patrick and I have to go. I'm off to a event here in London called SpeckleCon. So if anyone's watching this live and wants to meet me there, I'm expecting a big bunch of groupies at the door. When I arrive, Bricks and Bytes groupies.
Oh yeah.
You need to
Yeah,
put
there
the
and
hat
everywhere.
on.
I think
I'll wait for you.
Owen, this was what inspired the dance video, SpeckleCon, on our WhatsApp.
I mean, if that happens there, I'll let you know. Yeah.
Nice.
Inside joke. We'll put that in. Maybe put that one in the show notes. This video of me at the event tonight, so everyone can see. But yeah,
It's
G-Man,
more
Ollie.
about Owen's music choice.
Oh no! Wow, we've had some fun with music choices this week, Patrick, as you all know. Cool, guys.
Yeah.
G-Man, Ollie, thank you. Yeah, Martin, Dustin, Patrick, pleasure as always. We will see you all next
See
week.
you all, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, man. We'll do. Take care.
Yeah. All right, guys. Later on. Thanks for having us. As always. See you around.
See you later.
Bucks and Bytes.